The call came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was knee-deep in quarterly reports. My name is Harper, and that call would end up turning my carefully structured life inside out. "We want you to head up the new branch," my boss said, her voice crackling through my phone speaker. "It's in your hometown, Millbrook. The salary bump is significant, and you'd have full autonomy over operations." I nearly dropped my coffee. Running my own branch had been my goal for years. But Millbrook? I'd spent the last 6 years building a life in Chicago specifically to avoid that place. "I'll need your answer by Friday," she continued. "The Thompson Industries contract depends on having someone with local connections leading the project." Thompson Industries. Of course. The same company my brother Ethan worked for, or more accurately, the company owned by his fiancée's family. The universe really does have a sick sense of humor. "I'll think about it," I managed to say, even as my stomach twisted into knots. That evening, I called my younger sister Zoe. She picked up on the first ring like she always does. "Harper, save me from this wedding planning nightmare," she groaned. "Vanessa's making us try on the 5th set of bridesmaid dresses because apparently Coral is so last season now." "How's Mia handling it?" I asked, thinking of our 15-year-old sister. "Oh, you know Mia. She's doing that thing where she smiles and nods while plotting revenge in her head." Zoe paused. "You sound weird. What's up?" I told her about the job offer. The line went quiet for so long I thought we'd lost connection. "Mom and Dad are going to flip," she finally said. "In a good way, I mean. They've been weird since Ethan got engaged to Vanessa. Like they're trying to prove something to the Thompsons." "That's exactly what I'm afraid of," I admitted. "Remember last Christmas? When Dad practically tripped over himself showing off Ethan's engagement photos to Richard Thompson, while completely ignoring your promotion announcement." "Yeah, that was subtle." I walked to my apartment window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. 6 years of building a life here, of proving I could make it on my own. But this opportunity, it was everything I'd worked for. "You should take it," Zoe said firmly. "Show them you're not just the middle child who ran away. Plus, I miss you. And Mia needs someone sane around here." Later that night, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of Vanessa, Ethan, and my parents at some fancy restaurant. The caption read, "Family dinner planning the wedding. Wish you could have made it. V." I hadn't been invited. Of course. The next morning, I called my boss and accepted the position. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about proving them wrong. When I called my parents to tell them I was moving back, my mother's response was telling. "Oh, that's wonderful, honey. And perfect timing. You can help with the wedding preparations. Vanessa's father is sparing no expense, you know. The Thompsons really know how to do things properly." I bit back what I wanted to say. Instead, I replied, "Actually, I'll be pretty busy. I'm running the new branch that's handling their biggest account." The silence on the other end was satisfying, but what my father said next caught me off guard. The Thompson Industries expansion project? But Ethan said he was handling that through Vanessa's family business. That was news to me, and judging by my father's tone, it was about to become a very big problem. "Well," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I guess we'll all be working together then." As I hung up the phone, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking into a trap. But for once, I wasn't going to back down. It was time to show my family, especially Vanessa, exactly what the forgotten middle child could do. Moving back into my childhood home felt like stepping into a time machine, except everything had been redecorated to Vanessa's taste. The familiar family photos were replaced with professional engagement shots, and my old bedroom had been converted into what my mother called the wedding planning room. I was unpacking in Mia's room, my temporary accommodation, when I heard the commotion downstairs. Zoe's voice carried up the stairs, strained and defensive. "But I already bought the dress you approved last week." "That was before I saw what the Thompson cousins are wearing," Vanessa's voice replied, dripping with false sympathy. "We can't have the bridesmaids looking discount, can we?" I gripped the doorframe, counting to 10 before heading downstairs. The scene in the living room stopped me cold. Zoe stood in the middle of the room, wearing a pale blue bridesmaid dress that looked perfect on her. Mia sat in the corner, headphones on, pretending to do homework while obviously eavesdropping. Vanessa circled Zoe like a shark, phone in hand. Harper. My mother jumped up from the couch. Perfect timing. Maybe you can help convince Zoe that Vanessa's right about the dresses. The new ones are only $3,000 each, Vanessa added, not looking up from her phone. I'm sure between the three of you girls, you can manage it. $3,000. For a dress Zoe would wear once. I watched my sister's face crumple slightly before she caught herself. Actually, I said, keeping my voice level, I have a meeting with Richard Thompson tomorrow about the new branch. Maybe I should ask him about the wedding budget while I'm there. The room went silent. Vanessa's head snapped up, her perfectly maintained smile slipping for just a second. Oh, didn't Ethan tell you? She recovered quickly. Daddy's letting him handle all the business aspects of the expansion. We wouldn't want to confuse things with too many cooks in the kitchen. Funny, I replied. That's not what my contract says. The front door opened and Ethan walked in, his timing impeccable as always. What's not what your contract says? Before I could respond, Vanessa was at his side, her hand on his arm. Darling, I thought we agreed you'd handle the Thompson Industries project? Harper seems to think she's running it. Ethan's expression shifted from confusion to that familiar, patronizing smile. Come on, sis. You know how these things work. The Thompson name carries weight around here. It'll be better for everyone if I take point on this. Everyone meaning you? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Harper, my father warned from his armchair. Your brother has connections here. Real relationships with the business community. Maybe it's time to be practical. I looked around the room, at Zoe in her beautiful dress that apparently wasn't good enough, at Mia pretending not to care, at my parents deferring to Vanessa's every whim. 6 years away hadn't changed anything. Practical, I repeated. Like spending $3,000 on new dresses when the ones we have are perfectly fine? Or letting Ethan take credit for my work because he's marrying into the right family? You always do this, Ethan sighed. Turn everything into a competition. This is my wedding we're talking about. No, Vanessa cut in, her voice honey-sweet but her eyes cold. This is about family. And family supports each other, doesn't it? Unless. You're not planning to make things difficult, are you, Harper? The threat was clear in her tone. I looked at Zoe, who shook her head slightly, a warning not to make things worse. But I was done playing nice. You know what? You're right, Vanessa. Family does support each other. Which is why I'm taking Zoe shopping tomorrow for whatever dress she wants to wear. And as for the Thompson Industries project, I pulled out my phone, showing the email from my boss. Maybe you should read the contract terms more carefully. Both of you. I turned and walked out, but not before catching Mia's small smile behind her textbook. As I climbed the stairs, I heard Vanessa's voice, sharp and clear. Well, I suppose some people just don't understand how things work here anymore. Such a shame. Game on, I thought. Let's see how things really work. The truth hit me like a slap to the face when I found the papers in my father's home office. I wasn't looking for them. I was searching for last year's tax documents for the new branch paperwork. Instead, I found loan agreements between my father and Richard Thompson, dated back to when Ethan first started dating Vanessa. My hands shook as I read the details. Personal loans, business investments, property deals, all arranged through Thompson Industries, all benefiting my brother. The amounts made my stomach turn. No wonder my parents had been so eager to push this wedding forward. My phone buzzed, a text from Mia. SOS. V making me skip dance recital for wedding stuff. Again. I was still staring at the message when my father walked in. He froze in the doorway, his eyes going from my face to the papers in my hands. Those are private business matters, he said quietly. Private. I held up one of the documents. Like how Ethan's new position at Thompson Industries came with a $100,000 signing bonus that went straight to paying off your debts. He closed the door behind him. You don't understand the pressure we've been under. The recession hit the business hard. When Ethan met Vanessa, you sold him to them. I cut in. And now you're letting them walk all over this family because you're afraid they'll call in their debts. I'm protecting this family. His voice rose sharply. Richard Thompson could destroy everything we've built. Your mother's security, your sister's future. By letting Vanessa control their lives? Making Mia miss her performances? Forcing Zoe to spend money she doesn't have. A knock at the door made us both jump. Vanessa stood there, wearing her practiced smile. "I thought I heard voices," she said sweetly. "Harper, Daddy was asking about you. He mentioned something about the project management role being better suited for someone with more local experience." My father wouldn't meet my eyes. The implications were clear: play nice, or watch my career disappear too. "Actually," I said, "I just found some very interesting documents about local experience. Want to take a look?" Vanessa's smile flickered. "I'm sure whatever business arrangements exist are perfectly normal for families in our position." "Our position?" I laughed. "You mean where you hold financial threats over everyone's heads to get what you want?" "Harper," my father warned. "No," I snapped. "I'm done pretending. Did you know she's making Mia skip her dance recital? The one she's been practicing for all year." "The wedding planning schedule is very tight," Vanessa said. "Sacrifices have to be made. Family understands that." "Family understands limits," I corrected her. "Family doesn't use money as a weapon." Vanessa stepped closer, dropping her voice. "Speaking of limits, it would be a shame if Daddy had to reconsider the expansion project's management structure. Ethan's been so looking forward to proving himself." "Is that what this is about?" I held up my phone, showing her my email inbox. "Because I have some interesting correspondence about who actually secured the Thompson Industries contract. Want to guess whose name isn't on any of it?" The color drained from her face. Before she could respond, Ethan appeared in the doorway. "What's going on?" he asked, looking between us. "Your sister was just leaving," Vanessa said firmly. I gathered the documents, watching my father's face fall as I tucked them into my bag. "No, I think I'll stay. We should all talk about these loan agreements. As a family." "Harper, please," my father began. "Dad." Ethan's confusion was genuine. "What loan agreements?" I met Vanessa's gaze. "Should I tell him, or would you like to explain how his perfect job offer came about?" The silence that followed was deafening. Sometimes revenge isn't about winning, it's about forcing the truth into the light. As I watched my brother's face change from confusion to understanding, I realized this was just the beginning of what would become a very uncomfortable family reunion. "Well," Vanessa said, her mask finally cracking, "I suppose we'll have to discuss this at dinner. All of us. Including Daddy." The threat in her voice was clear, but for once, I wasn't backing down. Let her bring Richard Thompson into this. Maybe it was time everyone saw exactly what kind of family we'd become. The family dinner that night was like watching a bomb tick down in slow motion. Richard Thompson sat at our dining table, his presence making everyone except Vanessa visibly uncomfortable. My mother's hands shook as she served the food, and my father kept glancing between Richard and the documents I'd discovered, which now sat in my laptop bag by the door. Mia slipped into the seat next to me, whispering, "Did you know he was coming?" I shook my head, watching Vanessa orchestrate the seating arrangements, so Ethan sat between her and her father. My brother looked pale, still processing the revelations about his job from earlier. "So, Harper," Richard said, cutting into a steak, "tell me about your plans for the new branch. I'm particularly interested in your thoughts on local partnerships." Before I could answer, Vanessa jumped in. "Daddy, remember what we discussed about keeping business matters separate from family time?" "Actually," I said, meeting Richard's eyes, "I'd love to discuss the project. Especially since there seems to be some confusion about who's handling what." Zoe kicked me under the table, a warning, but I was done playing nice. "Speaking of handling things," Vanessa said sweetly, "Mia, have you told everyone about changing your dance recital date?" Mia froze beside me. I haven't decided." "Oh, but you must," Vanessa pressed. "The wedding rehearsal schedule is already set. Richard, you understand the importance of commitment, don't you?" I watched my youngest sister shrink in her chair, and something inside me snapped. "Mia's not changing her recital," I said firmly. "Harper," my father warned. "No." I set down my fork. "Mia's been working toward this for months. The wedding can work around it. Richard looked between us, his expression curious. I wasn't aware there was a scheduling conflict. There isn't, Vanessa said quickly. Just a small misunderstanding about priorities. Priorities? I laughed. Like the priority of using your father's money to control this entire family? The room went silent. My mother gasped softly, and my father half rose from his chair. That's enough, Ethan said, but his voice wavered. Richard set down his utensils. What exactly do you mean by that, Harper? I reached for my bag, but Vanessa was faster. Daddy, Harper's just upset because she's having trouble adjusting to being home. Maybe we should. Let her speak, Richard interrupted, his tone sharp. I'm interested in hearing this. I pulled out the loan documents. Your daughter and my brother's perfect relationship? It was bought and paid for by Thompson Industries. Every job offer, every investment. It's all been about control. These are private family matters. My father started, but Richard held up his hand. David, is this true? The silence that followed was deafening. Vanessa's perfect mask cracked slightly as she watched her father scan the documents. Mr. Thompson, my mother began. We never meant. Stop, Mia suddenly said, her voice stronger than I'd ever heard it. Just stop lying. All of you. She turned to Richard. Do you want to know what else your daughter's been doing? Check my phone. I recorded everything. Vanessa's face went white. You what? Mia pulled out her phone, hands shaking but determined. Every threat, every manipulation. I saved it all. Mia, honey, my mother pleaded. Think about what you're doing to the family. The family? I stood up. Look what we've already done to this family. We're all so scared of losing the Thompsons' money that we're letting Vanessa destroy us. Richard took Mia's phone, his expression unreadable. I think, he said slowly, we need to have a very different kind of family discussion. Vanessa reached for the phone. Daddy, please. Not now, Vanessa. His voice was ice. Harper, Mia, would you join me in the study? Bring those documents. As we stood to leave, I caught Ethan's eye. For the first time since this all began, he looked lost, the golden sun finally seeing his perfect world crumble. The truth hurts, doesn't it? I said softly as I passed him. Sometimes revenge comes in unexpected ways, I thought, following Richard Thompson down the hall. And sometimes it's not about winning. It's about finally being heard. The email from Vanessa arrived at 3 a.m., a week after the disastrous dinner. I stared at my phone, reading and rereading the attached photos, old family pictures I'd never seen before, showing my father meeting with Richard Thompson years ago, long before Ethan and Vanessa started dating. The message was simple: $10,000. Cash. Or these and the real story behind them go public. Think about what that would do to your precious family name. My hands shook as I got dressed. Dawn was breaking when I pulled up to the coffee shop where Ethan had asked to meet me. He sat in the corner, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Did you know? I asked, sliding into the seat across from him. About Dad and Richard? No. He pushed a coffee toward me. But I found more documents last night. The Thompson connection goes back further than we thought. He's been laundering money through the business. The world tilted sideways. What? Vanessa knows everything. She's been collecting evidence for years, waiting for the right moment. He looked up, his eyes hollow. The wedding isn't just about status, Harper. It's protection. For all of us. My phone buzzed, another email from Vanessa. More photos. She wants money from me, I said. To keep quiet. Just pay it, Ethan pleaded. Please. Mom can't handle a scandal. And Dad. They'll arrest him, Harper. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. So, we just let her win. Let her keep controlling everyone. It's not about winning anymore. He ran his hands through his hair. Mia showed Richard those recordings, and now he's launching an internal audit. If they find the money trail... My phone rang. Zoe. Harper, you need to come home. Now. Vanessa's here with her lawyer. When we arrived, the scene in the living room made my stomach drop. Our parents sat rigid on the couch, while Vanessa stood by the fireplace, a thick folder in her hands. Her lawyer, a sharp-faced woman in an expensive suit, was laying out documents on the coffee table. Perfect timing, Vanessa smiled. We were just discussing the terms of my silence. Terms? I moved closer to Mia, who was huddled in the corner armchair. Well, we can't have Richard finding out about your father's creative accounting, can we? Not when it could ruin so many lives. She pulled out a document. I've drawn up a new contract. The branch project goes to Ethan, as originally planned. And you, Harper, will make a public statement about stepping down due to personal issues. You can't do this, Zoe started, but our father cut her off. Harper, please. Just sign it. I looked around the room, at my father's defeated posture, my mother's tears, Ethan's guilt, and my sister's fear. 6 years away hadn't been enough. I'd come back thinking I could protect them, but I'd only made things worse. No, I said quietly. Vanessa's smile faltered. Excuse me? I said no. I walked to the coffee table and picked up the contract, tearing it in half. You want to destroy this family? Go ahead. But you'll have to destroy me first. Harper, my mother sobbed. I'm done being afraid of you, Vanessa. Send whatever you want to Richard. Release the photos. I don't care anymore. Vanessa's lawyer stepped forward. Miss Collins, I advise you to reconsider. Get out, I said, my voice steady. Both of you. And Vanessa? The wedding's off. Tell Richard everything, because if you don't, I will. The silence that followed was broken by Mia standing up. I'm going with Harper. Me too, Zoe added. Vanessa's mask cracked completely. You're bluffing. You wouldn't dare. I pulled out my phone, dialing Richard's number. Last chance, I said. Leave now, or I burn everything down, including your reputation with Daddy. As Vanessa stormed out, I caught Ethan's eye. For the first time, I saw something there besides disappointment, respect. Sometimes protecting your family means being willing to lose them. I looked at my sisters, both standing beside me now, and realized that maybe I hadn't lost anything worth keeping after all. Pack your bags, I told them. You're staying with me tonight. The war wasn't over, but at least now we were fighting it on our terms. The Thompson Industries boardroom felt colder than usual as I laid out the evidence, financial records, text messages, recordings. Everything we had on Vanessa, everything about my father's involvement. Richard Thompson sat silently, his expression unreadable as he flipped through the documents. Why now? He finally asked. Because she's not just hurting my family anymore, I said. She's using her company to do it. Before he could respond, the door burst open. Vanessa strode in, followed by my father and Ethan. The sight of them together made my stomach turn. Daddy, I can explain everything, Vanessa started, but Richard held up his hand. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, he said quietly. I suggest everyone take a seat. My father wouldn't look at me as he sat down. Ethan, however, couldn't stop staring, like he was seeing me for the first time. Harper, he whispered, you don't understand what you've done. The board members filed in and Richard stood. Before we begin, I want to address some concerning information that's come to light. Vanessa's hand shot out, gripping my arm. Stop this now, she hissed, or I swear I'll. You'll what? I pulled away. Threaten me again? Release those photos? Go ahead. Richard cleared his throat. The evidence suggests a pattern of financial misconduct involving both Thompson Industries and Collins Enterprises. My father finally looked up, his face ashen. Richard, please. However, Richard continued, what concerns me more is the apparent manipulation and coercion involved. He turned to Vanessa, including by my own daughter. The room went silent. I should have felt triumphant, but something in Richard's tone made my skin crawl. Unfortunately, he said, given the extent of the Collins family's involvement in these irregularities, the board has no choice but to terminate all contracts and pursue legal action. What? I stood up. That wasn't the deal. There was no deal, Miss Collins. Richard's voice was ice. You came to me with evidence of criminal activity involving your own family. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? Vanessa started laughing, a horrible, broken sound. Oh, this is perfect. You really thought you were protecting everyone, didn't you, Harper? The noble sister, sacrificing everything to save us all. The police have already been notified, Richard announced. I suggest everyone stay where they are. My father put his head in his hands. Ethan reached for his phone, probably to call her mother. And me? I stood there, watching everything I'd tried to protect crumble. You knew, I said to Vanessa. You knew this would happen. She smiled, tears in her eyes. I learned from the best, didn't I, Daddy? Sometimes you have to destroy something to control it. The sound of sirens grew closer. My phone buzzed, a text from Zoe. Police are at the house. Mom's hysterical. What's happening? The Collins family's assets will be frozen pending investigation, Richard continued, including personal accounts. My head spun. The apartment I'd just rented for my sisters, the new branch I was supposed to run, our parents' house, all gone. I'd walked right into their trap, thinking I could beat them at their own game. Mr. Thompson, I tried one last time. My sisters. Should have been your concern before you brought this to my attention. He cut me off. Vanessa might have her faults, but at least she understands loyalty. The police entered the boardroom, and I watched them approach my father first. Ethan stood between them, trying to explain, but it was useless. As they let our father out, he finally spoke to me. I hope your revenge was worth it, he said softly. Vanessa moved to stand beside her father, their united front a stark contrast to my family's dissolution. You should have just paid the money, Harper. Some families can't be saved. They can only be controlled. As the officers approached me, I realized the true cost of trying to protect everyone. I'd lost not just my family, but everything we'd ever built. And somewhere across town, my sisters were watching our world fall apart, thinking I'd betrayed them all. Sometimes the price of doing the right thing is losing everything you fought to protect. The police station's interview room felt smaller with each passing hour. My lawyer had just left to review new evidence when the door opened and Richard Thompson walked in alone. Interesting development, he said, sliding a USB drive across the table. Someone anonymously sent this to every board member an hour ago. My hands shook as I plugged it into the laptop they'd left me. Video files, dozens of them. Security footage from Thompson Industries, showing Richard and Vanessa in various offices, having conversations they never thought would be recorded. Keep watching, Richard said quietly. The next clip showed Vanessa in Richard's office, screaming about the wedding, about controlling the Collins family, about using my father's desperate financial situation to force the merger. Ethan sent these. I realized he was the only one with access to your security system. My daughter. Richard's voice cracked. She learned her manipulation from me. I taught her that power was everything, that controlling people was the same as leading them. The door opened again. Vanessa stood there, mascara streaking her face. You betrayed me, she said to her father. After everything I did to make you proud. No. He stood. I failed you, and now I'm going to fix it. She laughed. That same broken sound from the boardroom. Fix it? By throwing everything away? I did what you taught me. I found their weakness. I exploited it. You became me, he cut her off. And that's my greatest shame. My lawyer returned, followed by Ethan and, surprisingly, my father's attorney. The board has reviewed the new evidence, my lawyer announced. They're dropping all charges against the Collins family, except for minor financial infractions that can be settled out of court. What? I stood up. But the investigation was based largely on manufactured evidence, Ethan said, not looking at Vanessa. Evidence that's now been discredited. Vanessa lunged for the laptop, but Richard caught her arm. Enough. For once in your life, face the consequences of your actions. Like you did, she spat. All those years of teaching me how to crush the competition, how to find people's breaking points. Was that all just business too? Yes, he said softly. And I was wrong. The room fell silent. I watched father and daughter stare at each other, years of toxic lessons and damaged love between them. The board has called an emergency session, Richard continued. I'm stepping down as CEO. And Vanessa. He took a deep breath. You need help. Real help. You can't do this to me, she whispered. No one's doing anything to you, I said, standing up. For once, you're facing exactly what you've earned, just like the rest of us. She turned to Ethan, desperate. Tell them how we were building something together. How? We were building lies, he interrupted. And I helped you hurt my family because I was too afraid to stand up to you. To either of you. He looked at Richard. My lawyer cleared her throat. Miss Thompson, given the new evidence, you have some decisions to make. Your father has offered to cover the cost of a treatment program. Treatment. She laughed again. You think this is about me being broken? This is about power. It's always been about power. Harper understands, don't you? Why else would you fight so hard? I walked to the door, then turned back. I fought for my family. You fought for control. That's the difference. The papers are drawn up, Richard said. Vanessa, please. Let me help you for once, instead of enabling you. She looked around the room, at her father's pleading face, at Ethan's quiet resolve, at the evidence of her own cruelty playing on the laptop screen. Fine, she whispered. You want to see broken? I'll show you broken. But as she reached for the laptop again, her father caught her in his arms, and something finally cracked. She collapsed against him, sobbing like the little girl she must have been once, before power and control became everything. I slipped out of the room, leaving them to their reckoning. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about letting them destroy their own carefully built lies. Ethan followed me out. Harper, I'm sorry. For everything. I know, I said. Let's go home. Our sisters are waiting. 6 months later, I stood in the doorway of my new apartment, watching Mia practice her dance routine while Zoe studied for her college entrance exams. The sound of their laughter still felt like a miracle after everything we'd been through. My phone buzzed, a text from Ethan. Dad's asking if you're coming to dinner tonight. These monthly family dinners had become our way of rebuilding. Small steps, careful conversations, and the slow process of learning to trust again. Our parents were different now, humbled by their mistakes, trying to make amends in their own way. We should go, Zoe said, looking up from her books. Mom mentioned she's making your favorite lasagna. And Vanessa? Mia asked quietly. I checked my email, finding her latest update from the treatment center. She'd been writing to me, not asking for forgiveness, just sharing her journey of understanding why she'd become who she was. Her last message ended with a question that had kept me awake at night. How do you fix a family once you've broken it? She's still working on herself, I replied. Just like we all are. The doorbell rang. Our father stood there, looking older, but somehow lighter. I thought I'd drive you all to dinner, he said. If that's okay. I watched him interact with my sisters, really seeing them this time, not just viewing them through the lens of his ambitions. He'd started attending Mia's dance recitals, helping Zoe research colleges. Small things, but real ones. Harper, he said as we walked his car, the new branch numbers came in. You've done an incredible job. Thanks, Dad. I smiled, remembering how differently those words would have felt 6 months ago. But it's not just me. Ethan's been instrumental in rebuilding our client relationships. My brother had surprised everyone by starting his own consulting firm, refusing Richard Thompson's offer to stay with the company. Some legacies aren't worth preserving, he'd said. At dinner, our mother had set an extra place at the table, force of habit from when it was supposed to be Vanessa's seat. Now it served as a reminder of how easily a family could lose its way. I saw Richard at the grocery store, my mother said, passing the salad. He mentioned Vanessa might come home for Christmas. The table went quiet. Mia reached for my hand under the table. That's good, I said finally. Everyone deserves a chance to heal. Do they? Zoe asked, her voice sharp. After everything she did? I thought about Vanessa's last email, about Richard's face when he realized what his lessons had created, about our own parents learning to value happiness over status. Sometimes the people who hurt us are the ones who are hurt the worst, I said. It doesn't excuse what they did, but it helps explain it. Like Dad's business decisions? Mia asked quietly. Our father set down his fork. Like a lot of things I did, thinking I was protecting this family. I was wrong, and I'm trying to make it right. Later that night, back at our apartment, I found a letter in my bag, Vanessa's handwriting on the envelope. Inside was a check for the exact amount she'd tried to extort from me, along with a note. Not as redemption, but as a reminder that some debts can never really be repaid. Use it for your sister's future. I tore up the check and wrote back a single line. Some debts aren't about money. Zoe appeared in my doorway. You okay? Yeah, I smiled. Just thinking about how sometimes protecting your family means knowing when to fight and when to forgive. And which is this? She asked. I looked at my sisters, strong, resilient, free from the shadows that had nearly broken us, and realized that maybe the answer wasn't about fighting or forgiving at all. Maybe it was about building something new from the pieces of what was broken. This, I said, is about choosing who we want to be, not who we're afraid of becoming. Mia turned up her dance music, pulling us both up to join her. As we danced in our small living room, I thought about family, not the one we'd lost, but the one we'd chosen to build together. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free.